Okay, welcome back to part 2 of the French Alps road trip. In the previous video, I took the Eurostar from London St Pancras to Paris, spent a couple nights there, and then I took the train from Paris Gare de Lyon to Geneva, picked up my rental car for the month, and then had a short drive to Annecy, spent a lovely few days there. So now, part 2. Short drive from Annecy to Grenoble, or Grenoble, I think is how you say it correctly. And this is a town that is known for having a view of the whole Alps. It's not the most well-travelled town. There wasn't actually that many tourists there, and that's because there's not that much to see there. But I did spend 2 nights there. I'd recommend 1 or 2 nights because it's kind of, if you're going to Briancon, it was on the way, and that's why I stayed there. The fort of Bastille was by far the best thing to do, so I hiked up there, took about an hour, just over an hour. If you're into history and war and forts and all that kind of stuff, a really cool place to walk around and take in some fort scenes. And then of course you have a great view of Grenoble as well. So then spent about 20-30 minutes up there, and then got the cable car down to the town, and then just walked around the town. It's one of these cities, right, which is obviously less populated and less travelled than like the main capital like Paris, and this is the same for most other countries, right? There's just less kind of going on, there's less to see, but again, there was still some archetypal French architecture. There was a lot of graffiti, which at first you think is like a rough part of town, because if you went to London and you had graffiti, that's normally like a bad sign, but in France it's actually not that bad to some degree. I think it's like a way that they express their art, or some kind of art that they do. So Grenoble was cool for a couple of days. And then I had an epic drive from Grenoble to Briancon through a valley, and you have these ginormous mountains above you, and you're driving through the valley, and it's quite spectacular, and that took about 2 hours. Briancon is the highest village or city, or I think like populated city in France. I think it's at like 5,000, 6,000 feet of elevation, and it's known for its old town and its fort. A really cool like little high street built within a fort on top of a massive hill is the main kind of center of it, which is really cool. And I stayed in a great Airbnb, met a really cool French family. It was like an annex off their property. Had a good chat with them a couple times, and just really welcoming, and overall it was a really comfortable stay. I had 4 days there. 2 days were bad weather, so I worked productively with the bad weather days, and then the 2 sunny days, I went to Parc Des Ecrins, which was unbelievable. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting like beauty, but I was driving through it, and honestly, it reminded me of being in Milford Sound in New Zealand. Just the spectacular little single track road through this amazing valley and these ginormous mountains. It was a bluebird sunny day, and it was just a spectacular morning. And I did a really cool hike up to a glacier. Well, unfortunately it wasn't a glacier much anymore, and that is an unfortunate thing about the Alps. A lot of the glaciers are receding quite dramatically, but that's another story for another day. Parc des Ecrins was amazing, and then after that I went on another little hike, which was through more like a little hamlet, which was really cute, and then you have this epic view at the top of it as well. And then the second day I did another little hike to a really cool lake, kind of like a really family orientated lake, where there was loads of picnics going on and just loads of families, and really cool kind of outdoor kind of lifestyle that a lot of the French live in these parts of the Alps. So Briancon I really enjoyed. It was a little bit less touristy, still touristy of course, but it had a good mixture between like a local vibe and still having not looking completely out of place. Went to a really nice coffee shop actually, which I'll link below as well. Really recommend that. Yeah, and then so after Briancon I drove to Courchevel. Really cool was the route was through the Col Du Galibier, which is a very famous mountain pass. Been in the Tour de France a lot, and yeah, if you aren't the most comfortable driver, you probably want to let your partner drive, because it is pretty high up and single track roads. Excuse me, I had to have my coffee before it goes cold. But yeah, the Col Du Galibier was really cool. Really cool. I was quite envious of seeing the bikers, the cyclists. I really wanted to get a bike and do it myself, but also I was in the comfort of a car as well, which was quite nice. So yeah, drove to Courchevel, and then the reason why I went to Courchevel was because it was kind of on the way to Chamonix. It was a good 3-hour drive, whereas if I drove straight to Chamonix it'd be like 4.5, and I was like, you know what, I'm here for a month, so let's break it up. And I skied Courchevel growing up as a kid, so I thought I'd go back down memory lane for a little bit, and it was nice, definitely nice going back, and it was surreal because I was walking up and down the ski slopes that I had skied. But you don't need to go there in the summer because it's basically like a construction site. They do a lot of construction, and there's just so much fancy chalets and hotels getting refurbished, and it's obviously one of the most expensive ski resorts in the world, and so you can see why a lot of people want to go. I mean, the mountain's still beautiful, and there was still some hikers out there and still some mountain bikers out there. There's a cool golf course which I never even knew, which I always used to ski over, but when you have the town itself, it's hardly open and there's just loads of construction. It's 5% of the beauty is when it's all snowing and looking all beautiful and wintry. So yeah, that was part 2 of the road trip. I want to try and keep these videos short and sweet, so yeah, part 3 is going to be Chamonix. So I spent a week in Chamonix. So part 3 is pretty much going to be the whole of Chamonix, because it's a lot to talk about. I went on a lot of hikes. Chamonix is very well known, so I'll get into that. And then part 4 is going to be Salmons, where I am now, and Morzine as well.